Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I am your MC, Michael Hansen, and I do all kinds of dastardly things with microphones because I am a ring announcer and an MMA cage announcer. And I'm joined this week, as I always am, by my two friends who bring MMA punditry to new heights. Joining us on the left side of your screens, all the way from New York, Mark Priaulx. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, boys? Super unprepared. Realized I had nothing up on my screen whatsoever, so I was just trying to freaking get everything up as you were talking. But yeah, I just went out to dinner, ate some rice balls, some orchetti and sausage and broccoli rabe.
Oh, man.
Had a bottle of wine, had homemade chocolate chip cookies.
Jesus.
Long story short, if I fall asleep in the middle of this show, I apologize.
Making my mouth
shot
water.
right now.
Oh, my God. Can't believe you're even here right now, not in a coma on your couch.
Yeah, I was going to have some whiskey originally for this show, and then I left the restaurant. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Nice. And joining us on the right sides of your screens from the sunshine state of Florida, Omar the Nicaraguan Nightmare Artola. What's going on?
What's going on? The wife and I actually saw a couple movies last weekend, one of which was the new Jackass movie. And Ngannou punches that boy in his nuts. That was fucked up. It was worse because eventually he ends up getting beamed with a fucking a hockey puck in his nuts.
Those guys have just made a career on doing regrettable things and putting it on camera.
Indeed. Great time. Totally recommend it. 100%.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out at some point.
Yeah, looks good.
Okay.
Some parents brought their 2 children to this movie. Do not recommend it. A lot of dick in this movie. A lot of exposed dick in this movie.
I believe it.
So,
Also, real quick before we start, I just want to say we had a week where our views on YouTube skyrocketed. So if that was you, thank you very much. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully this ep will live up to last ep. Stick with us. We're going to keep getting better, but thank you for joining the new family here.
That's right. And to toast all of those viewers and listeners, I'm drinking a Campari and soda tonight.
Nice.
It's delicious.
I'm drinking water in a holographic mummy cup.
drinking Arizona out of the container.
Wow.
I just went downhill quick. Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Well, folks, we have an exciting episode for you guys this week. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to start, as we always do, with On the Marquee. We're going to talk about the fights from this past weekend's UFC Fight Night 200, Strickland versus Hermansson. We're going to find out who rose and who fell in our very own ranking system, the Priaulx Rankings with Mr. Priaulx right there. Then we're going to dive into the MMA sphere with Omar and find out the highlights in the MMA news that have been going on as of late. And then we're going to look ahead to this coming weekend's pay-per-view, UFC 271, Adesanya versus Whittaker 2. And then we're going to end with a little trivia. So, boys, before we get into any of that, alluding to what Mark just said, if you guys have been with us for a while, thank you so much. And if you're joining us for the first time, thank you. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you never miss an episode. If you're watching this on YouTube and you want the audio-only version, hey, we got you. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and let us join you on your commute, when you're doing the dishes, when you're folding the laundry, etc., etc. And, of course, find us on social media at @&new_MMA show. Here we go. Boys, this week, the name on the marquee has got to be Sean Strickland, who this past weekend at UFC Fight Night 200, Strickland versus Hermansson, defeated Jack Hermansson by split decision, earning a 49-46 on 2 of the judges' scorecards. Hermansson earning 1 scorecard, 48-47. Mark, let me throw it up to you first. What's your reaction? And did the judges get this one right in the split decision?
Well, two judges got it right. One judge, I don't know what the hell he was watching, but it wasn't the fight. Overall, I just feel kind of underwhelmed. And because of that, I feel like I don't have a ton to say. Like, that fight was reminiscent to me of Israel Adesanya's fight with Jan Blachowicz. Like, it just feels very frustrating when you plan your night around watching a guy fight because you know what he's capable of and you want to see it on display. And then he goes in there and he fights no differently than if he was doing like a hard spar in a training session. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've always felt like Izzy did against Jan when he had a chance to like cement his legacy forever. And I had that same exact feeling watching Strickland in this fight. Like, it was very obvious very quickly that Sean Strickland was the superior fighter. Mm-hmm. Like, Jack couldn't get him down. He couldn't even create suspense of getting him down, if we're being honest. And like, sure, Jack was landing here and there in the feet, but every true exchange was won by Strickland. The jab was working as usual. And it was just like very early into that fight, it was like, wow, like Jack Hermansson is going to have trouble getting anything done here. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like Strickland was going to have a chance to really show out. But you know, it was the biggest fight of his career thus far. Like, there was an outside chance that he could have jumped the Cannonier Brunson winner coming up this Saturday for a title shot if he had really showed out there. And he was totally controlling the tempo, totally controlling the space. Like, he had every chance to do it. He was very obviously better, and he just chose to coast for whatever reason. He never turned it up. He never really tried to get Jack out of there. He was just comfortable keeping him behind that jab, landing here and there, keeping himself safe. And he kind of just walked through the fight and made sure he walked out of there with a W. Yeah, but even that, it almost friggin' backfired on him because one judge somehow sees the fight for Hermansson. So listen, like, is Sean Strickland good? Yes, he is. Did the performance hammer that home even more? Kind of, yes, even because of how easy it was. Could he and should he have done a lot more than that? Yes. So mainly disappointed on my end.
Omar, let's bring you in here and get your reaction. How did you see that fight, and what were your thoughts on the performances of these two elite middleweights?
So when the fights were going on, I think I texted you guys that I could see that somebody was going to give this fight to Hermansson. And the reason why was because Hermansson was pushing the pace the entire time, and Strickland was being very reactive as opposed to being proactive in the fight. With all that being said, though, he still was the better fighter. And, you know, just like Mark said, he wasn't able to, there was no takedowns that were able to be landed by Jack through 5 rounds. I don't think Jack even landed anything of any consequence for 5 rounds. He ended up getting busted up. I think his nose ended up getting just demolished by the end of that fight. But for whatever reason, there just wasn't any gas put on Hermansson throughout that entire fight. It was a very coasty kind of fight. And Strickland, to his credit, did acknowledge the fact that his performance wasn't the greatest. He didn't care for his performance, and I think he also said that the pressure of the quote-unquote suits and the moment and the main event, it all seemed to get to him. And so the pressure, I think, of winning got the better of the pressure of him performing. So hopefully we don't see that shit again, because that's only going to fly, I think, but for so long. Especially once you start getting to the upper tier, especially of that division. But it was impressive to see that even like 50% of Sean Strickland could stop Hermansson in his tracks. Couldn't do anything against him.
Yeah, I mean, he acknowledged in the post-fight presser so much that, you know, he's gotten to a point of success in his career where winning takes priority over being impressive. And if he could be defensive in a certain way and win the fight on the scorecards, then that's more important for him at this point in his life. Not just in his career, but in his life. Financially, it's a big deal for this guy. So you can't blame him. And it happens to a lot of fighters as they climb up the ranks. But where do these guys go from here? Let's start with Strickland. With this win, he improves his win streak to now 6 straight UFC wins. Matchmaker Omar, let me stay with you. Well, what do you see next for Sean Strickland?
So the kid's got to go up, right? But this division is kind of a pain in the ass. I'm not really sure what everybody is doing right now. Give me 1 second here. So everybody is basically booked for something at this point. I think Vettori's the only one that's dance card is free at this point. But everybody will basically be freed up by the end of this weekend. Everybody in the top, basically the top 5. And that's where Strickland needs to be at this point. He needs to be in the top 5 to some degree. Somebody needs to switch hands with him. I don't think they're going to book anything right now, especially with these fights coming up. So I honestly don't want to either, because if Robert Whittaker loses, I could see him fighting Vettori, so I wouldn't necessarily want him fighting Strickland right away. And then there's Cannonier Brunson going on. There's a lot of options and a lot of moving pieces. If I had to choose one right now off the top of my head, I would go Strickland and Vettori.
Okay. Mark, let's bring you back in here. Matchmaker Mark, Strickland now improves his record to 25-3, 12-3 in the UFC. Let me put this to you this way. Give me a matchup for him that's above him that's a good matchup for him, and give me a matchup above him that's not a good matchup for him. A little game.
So you guys heard me kind of do this already last week. I don't like how he matches up with any of Izzy, Whittaker, Vettori, and kind of even Costa. Costa less of a level than the other 3 in terms of my concern for Strickland. I do think he has a much better shot against a Cannonier or a Brunson. Where I would go, I get it that you got 4 top middleweights fighting this weekend, so it's kind of like you never know how these fights shake out. It could change things depending who wins, who loses. I love the Vettori matchup. That's an easy one for me. The pre-fight back and forths, I think, would be entertaining as hell with those 2 weirdos talking to each other. It would be super intriguing for me to see who takes a backward step, because neither one likes to see if one can intimidate the other in the cage, who can eat the other shots. I think that's really a perfect fight, because, Marvin Vettori, as much as he's, we kind of make fun of him sometimes, so he thinks he's won these fights with Izzy when he clearly hasn't. Like, Marvin Vettori is the real friggin' deal. And if Sean Strickland could get over that hurdle, we're talking title shot territory. So I think that's a great fight to make. That's where I would go.
All right, Mark, let me stay with you and talking about Hermansson. He has now dropped 3 of his last 5. Where do you think he goes from here?
Yeah, I don't love the choices for Hermansson. I'm kind of like, do I want to move him kind of a little bit far down and have him fight someone on like the edge of the rankings? Because part of me thinks his status is like kind of inflated by beating an older Jacare and then catching that heel hook on Gastelum. Like, you wonder how that fight plays out if he hadn't caught that right away like that. But I do think there's someone right near him that makes sense, which is Darren Till, who has lost 2 in a row himself. And I actually think maybe it makes more sense as a guy I want to see Till against. So I'm kind of using Hermansson in this matchup. But I feel like after what we saw from Till against Brunson, it would be good to say, like, all right, you're healthy now. You don't have the injury excuse that he had against Brunson. Here's another wrestler, different kind of wrestler. This guy's a Greco guy. But show us you can stay on your feet, Darren Till, and let's go from here. And, it gives one of those guys a chance to get back on the right track. So I feel like that matchup works.
Okay. Omar, same question. Jack, the Joker, Hermansson, where does he go from here at middleweight?
So I know that Darren Till had talked about wanting to fight Uriah Hall, even though Uriah Hall already has a fight booked.
Yeah.
So I don't know when Darren Till decides he wants to come back, but that would be a good fight. And then I guess I'm also kind of thinking about how far down do we put Strickland, because this is another one of those things where everybody kind of between 4, in the top 15 also kind of has things booked. But if I was going to put him against anybody stylistically, I'd say let's bring him in against Chris Weidman.
Ooh.
Dude, that's what I wanted to say. But in my head, I was just like, he's probably still far away from being back. But that's a good one.
He might not be at this point. I mean, he's been training, right? He seems like he's working his way back. I would imagine he's probably close, if not ready to go. I think he's already expressed interest in wanting to come back.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'd go for that fight.
I just saw that quote from Weidman, I think on Helwani, where he was like, I don't want to come back just to prove to myself that I can come back after like some hardship. He still thinks that he can beat any middleweight in the division right now. So good for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, if Chris Weidman can get it done against Jack Hermansson, at this point, the way the division is, that's a fantastic win to have on your resume right now. So,
yeah,
it's a good fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else you guys want to say before we put a bow on this main event?
Don't believe so.
Okay, congrats to Sean Strickland on being on the marquee this week and his big win over Jack Hermansson, moving up the middleweight rankings. On the main card, though, also in the middleweight division, Bryan Pooh Bear battle. It really just kind of ruins the momentum of his name. Bryan Battle. What a name. Bryan Battle. Bryan Pooh Bear battle. I can't even finish it. Defeated Tresean Gore by unanimous decision, earning a score of 29-28 on all three judges' scorecards. Omar, let me start with you. Bryan Battle gets it done by unanimous decision. I thought he looked great. He might have been in the best shape of his fighting career at this point. What's your reaction on Battle's big win?
I gotta say, man, I really liked his striking. You know, it's not the prettiest, but it's effective, and there's a reason, I would assume, behind a lot of the stuff that he's doing. The teep kicks, man, had me smiling. If there's nothing better than a jab, it's a teep kick. All right, a teep kick is basically the jab for the body. Keeps distance, and by the time you get to the later rounds, your body is messed up. It's a beautiful tool, and it was fantastic to see him use it constantly and to see him use it effectively. He landed it a bunch of times. Gore probably feels like a stone wall, I would imagine, especially in those abs. But after 2.5 rounds of getting kicked there, you start to feel like putty. So it was just great. It was great to see him kind of stick to the fundamentals and really work Gore for that entire fight. I will say that second round. So the first round I thought was obviously just outworking Gore. Battle just completely outworking Gore, landing shots left and right, teep kick, jab, cross, keep it moving, keep changing angles. It was a great first round for Gore. I don't even know if Gore threw anything for that first round. He might have thrown like a handful of strikes. Second round, they said something to Gore because he came out and he beat the crap out of Battle. Busted him all up, ended up taking him down, and just really put a beating on him for the entire round. Definitely came out on top for that round, and we went into the third round 1-1, and it was really a battle of attrition because they both came to fight at that point, very much back and forth, but I definitely had Battle edging it out very, very slightly. If it was Gore that ended up winning that fight, I wouldn't have been mad, to be honest. But there was just something about the activity of Battle and his effectiveness that just outweighed sort of the nuclear bombs that Gore was trying to land.
Nice. Mark, let me get you in here. What was your reaction to Bryan Battle's unanimous decision victory over Tresean Gore?
Yeah, I'm actually pulling up MMA decisions as we speak. I got curious about that third round as Omar was talking.
Yeah,
wow.
The third one was a toss-up.
Yeah, so I thought the third round was a toss-up as well. I did. So obviously first, as you said, I agreed. First went to Battle, 2 to Gore.
Mm-hmm.
Third was the toss-up.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the right person won the fight. I think I would have to give it to Battle. But MMA decisions gave it strongly to Battle. Like not even really toss-up territory. 80% gave that round to Battle. So that surprises me.
Oh, wow. All right.
But yeah, I thought it was a close fight. I agree. Bryan Battle was in noticeably better shape, which was great to see. I thought he looked more composed than we've seen from him in the past. You know, calmer in there, like he was kind of mentally just turned on. That first round, I think, exposed what is kind of the fatal flaw of Tresean Gore, which is that he's prone to spending large chunks of time doing nothing. We saw it a couple times in the Ultimate Fighter. We saw it there, and it cost him a round in a close fight, which you can't really be doing. Obviously, in round 2, he comes back. He shows his power, which is noteworthy. Like if there's a point where Gore puts it together and we start to be like, wow, Tresean Gore, it's not going to surprise me because that man just has natural power. But yeah, unfortunately for him, Battle just worked through it. His striking was super improved. The teeps were key, like Omar said. He just it was, I don't want to say it was pitter patter, but it was just Gore had to just constantly eat something. Like he couldn't get in to work his game so much because there was always something coming at him. But yeah, I'm happy to see Battle get the win, solidify himself as the true tough champ. He seemed pretty happy to be able to actually call himself that after the fight. So yeah, it was good for him.
Mark, sticking with you, looking at the middleweight rankings above Bryan Battle now, give me a matchup. What do you think would be an exciting fight for Battle to have next?
These are tough because, these guys are kind of just breaking into the UFC, not super proven pre-UFC. So it's like you can't really go too far with these guys. But on that note, Bryan Battle is 2-0. So I feel like maybe you could take someone who has shown some things like a Jordan Wright, who's 2-2 in the UFC right now, someone like that, see if Battle can look good against a guy like that. And if he does, then it's like, all right, we can give him someone who's like really, a bit more established.
Okay, nice. Okay, guys, let's now throw the rest of this UFC Fight Night card into our lightning round. And if you don't know, if you're joining us for the first time, the lightning round is our non-game show where I challenge Mark and Omar to give me their quickest, fastest, most lightning takes on the results of these fights. So here we go. Moving down the card, starting in the middleweight division, Nick Maximov defeated Punahele Soriano by split decision. Omar, start with you.
Did I call this one? I feel like I kind of called this might happen. I can't
split?
remember who I ended up picking in the end, but I told you.
Maximov?
The Maximov kid.
Yeah,
and Pueleli's, and it wasn't even so much Pueleli's cardio, although he kind of ended up feeling it at the end, towards the end of the fight. But Jesus Christ, we've used the word grindy, I feel like, quite a bit over the last few weeks.
Yeah, grindy. It's
This kid might be the grindiest of the grindy at this point. I mean, I have never seen somebody who wanted to be on the ground more than this kid in my life. I mean, he did not want to strike with him almost in the least. Took him down over and over. Maybe it was because he could. And he found success there. And so he was like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, whatever. But man, just grinded that man to hell for 3 rounds. Pueleli looked like he was just happy to be done with that fight by the end of it, to be honest. Sad he lost, but happy he was done.
All right, Mark. Nick Maximov grinds Punahele Soriano into a split decision victory. What's your take?
We have wildly different takes on this fight.
Oh.
Puna Soriano won that fight.
Whoa.
Oh.
I don't really even care to hear an argument the other way. I don't understand how he doesn't win that fight. He clearly won round 1. Round 2, like, you don't get credit for hanging on a guy and trying to do things to him and failing to do them. Like, it was just constant hanging and dragging, and the only person landing anything was Puna Soriano. So, like, yeah, Maximov turned it up in the 3rd round. He had a great 3rd round. He did win that round. But to me, that's 29-28 Soriano. And I felt like I was the only person saying that. And I was like, am I missing something? So I rewatched it. Yeah. I felt the same exact way. Then I pulled up MMA decisions, and it is at least close. They had Soriano got the first round 78%. Maximov got the third 87%. So those are pretty clear. Round 2, Soriano 51, Maximov 49. So people with me. I thought Puna won that fight. I don't credit hanging on dudes and not accomplishing anything. I don't credit it.
I love it. I'm here for it.
The part that cracked me up the most was that you have Nate Diaz cage side like, yeah, man, you're doing great. This is awesome. Get him. If Nate Diaz was Puna Soriano in that fight, he would have thought he won the fight 30-24.
Love it. Love it. I'm here for the disagreement. We don't have too many disagreements on this show.
We don't.
So,
I gotta say, when I was watching the fight, I had Maximov winning 2-1, but I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and take another look.
Okay.
I'm curious.
I definitely don't feel this strongly about it, so I will go back and take another look.
Let us keep going down our lightning round, gentlemen. Lightning.
Yeah, sorry, we're
I
bad.
knew that one I couldn't be lighting on. I'm gonna try harder from now
Okay.
on.
In the welterweight division, Shavkat Nomad Rachmanov defeated Carlson Harris by knockout, spinning hook kick followed up by punches at 4 minutes, 10 seconds of round number 1. Mark, go first.
I think it's time to talk about how good Shavkat Rakhmonov is. I mean, this is scary. He's 15-0. He's 3-0 in the UFC, and that's 3 tough guys in Alex Oliveira, Michel Pracheres, and Carlston Harris. And it took him a combined 16 minutes to dispatch the 3 of them. And he's been flawless in all 16 of those minutes. Like, this dude may get a rocket on his back for the next matchup. Like, I know we have Chimaev in this division already, but like, Rachmanov is a name to watch, like, for real.
Mm-hmm. Omar, Rachmanov's nasty spinning hook kick and follow up by punches knockout over Harris. What you take?
Yeah, it always concerns me when a guy does that to somebody and then makes it seem like, what else did you expect from me? Yeah. Like that's concerning. That's true. He seemed like a very dangerous man, and I think Mark's right. We're gonna see some big things from him soon.
In the light heavyweight division, Brendan Allen, as a replacement, defeated Smiling Sam Alvey by submission via rear naked choke at 2 minutes, 10 seconds of round number 2. Omar, take it first.
You know, I just want good things for Sam Alvey. Man.
Don't we all?
You know, I just do. And you know, he's having a fight in the first round, and then he gets cracked in the second, and it all just goes downhill, man. I just want good things for Sam Alvey.
Okay, Mark, what's your lightning take of Brendan Allen getting the submission victory over Smiling Sam?
Brendan Allen, thankfully for my belief in Brendan Allen, came in and did exactly what he needed to do to get himself back on track. Sure, he had to eat a couple in the first round, but he knew he was the better fighter. He knew if he stayed on Alvey that he could break him, and that's exactly what he did. He didn't give him a break, found the shot, put him away.
Okay. In the featherweight division, which became a catchweight at 149 pounds, Julian Juicy J. Erosa defeated Stephen Pressfield by split decision. Mark, go first.
Stephen who?
Yeah,
Peterson. Stephen Pressfield.
Who the hell is Pressfield?
Sorry, Stephen Pressfield wrote that great book about, like, what is it called? Do the Work or something like that?
Oh, okay. I've actually heard of that book.
Classic book. Great audiobook. Right. Get that audiobook right now, tonight, and listen to it. It only takes like 4 hours.
How much did Stephen Pressfield pay you for that?
That was a nice plug, Mike. That was a nice plug.
It's our first sponsor, Stephen Pressfield.
I almost believed it was an accident, but I'm on to you. Who did you tee that one up for? I don't even know.
You, Stephen Peterson.
That was an incredible fight. Just 2 warriors willing to go out on their shields, trying to kill each other, taking damage, pushing the pace. I mean, they left it all out there, and it was razor close. That third round was so tough to score. It was 1-1 going into that. I felt so bad for Peterson that he wasn't able to walk out of there with a W, but obviously only one man could. I did think Erosa slightly edged it and, you know, got it done in a fight that was maybe tougher than Erosa expected it to be.
Okay, Omar, what's your take on Juicy J getting it done over Peterson?
Yeah, that was a banger. One we're probably going to end up hearing about sometime down the road. That's not the last we're going to hear about that fight. That fight was insane. Sad part about it is Stephen Peterson, because he missed weight, is not eligible for the bonus, and they won fight of the night that night. So each of them was supposed to get $50,000.
Yeah.
Upside, Julian Erosa got his $50,000, so he walked out of there with $100,000 plus his purse. Yeah, so Erosa won big time that night. So I'm just glad that they did, or at least he did. It was a hell of a fight.
For sure. Heading down into the prelims in the bantamweight division, John Sexy Mexi Castaneda defeated Miles Johns by submission by arm triangle. Omar, go first.
Yeah. I had Castaneda winning this entire fight. I think I've seen that people had Miles Johns winning the first round. I did not, but it didn't really matter by the end of it, because he was tearing through this kid by the second and third round. And by the time he got him on the ground, he put him completely to sleep. Completely.
Mark, what's your take? Sexy Mexi Castaneda getting it done over Miles Johns.
So I will say that Miles Johns definitely seems to have fallen in with his hands a little too much, which tends to happen when you have success with them. But that wasn't the same Miles Johns. But I can't say enough about John Castaneda, man. He had a game plan of just putting a murderous pace on Johns. And no matter how many bombs flew back his way, he just kept walking through and never deviated until Johns broke.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. In the featherweight division, Mean Hakeem Dawodu defeats New Jersey's own Michael Tresean 30-27 on all three judges' scorecards. Unanimous decision, by the way. Mark, take this one first.
So I thought that the speed may be the difference here for Dawodu, and boy, was it ever. He was a step ahead all fight long. He had great variety on his strikes. Tresean just couldn't get anything going. He was stuck behind Dawodu's strikes all fight. And a nice statement win for Dawodu, who tends to not get the clearest of decisions, and this one certainly was.
Omar, Mean Hakeem getting it done over Tresean. Go.
Yeah, I thought it was a real solid performance. He definitely won all three rounds pretty decisively. Very technical fight, though. There was a lot of gamesmanship kind of going on as far as the way that they were kind of approaching the battle there. A lot of feinting, a lot of trying to get people to bite. I did think that because Dawodu had an advantage in the speed, and especially by the end of the first round, he definitely had the advantage in the mental game there. I thought he would try to push the pace a little bit more. I thought he would try to go for a finish a little bit more. But he never really did. I think he was content just winning the rounds. I hope that doesn't I hope that's not his game going forward.
It seems to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, if he keeps going the Benson Henderson route, he's gonna end up with a lot of these weird decisions, and it's not gonna work out really well for his career. Especially when you talk about wanting people to pay money to watch you fight. That kid has real skill and real talent. I felt watching that fight that he could have done more and just decided not to. Mm-hmm. And granted, he needed a win. He needed a good win. He needed a solid win. I'm not trying to shit on him all at once because of this one fight. He needed this. But like I said, I just hope this isn't a trend going forward. I just hope there's a little bit more emphasis on putting on a finishing performance going forward.
Okay, in the middleweight division, Chidi Bang Bang Andrew Kawani defeats Marc-Andre Barrio. Omar, go first. What's your take? Oh, by the way, by knockout, or was it TKO? I think it was
knockout.
Oh, it was a knockout.
It was a knockout. Yeah, Chidi Bang Bang. Damn. I mean, there is not a better name for this boy.
How good is that nickname?
What a great
we
nickname.
have Pooh Bear earlier, and then we have a man named Chitty whose nickname in fighting is Bang Bang. I mean, just a lesson in being awful and good at nicknames.
And a name that is so apropos, especially after he just dispatched this poor kid. So what was it? It was 16 seconds?
16 seconds.
So the second fastest UFC debut.
Yep.
I mean, can't say anything else. Sign me up for the next fight.
Yeah,
Mark, what's your take?
My take was just going to be, what can you say?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't debut better than that, not only with the KO, but with the voice. Like, sheesh, that man's got a hell of a voice. Like, the UFC was probably listening to that post-fight interview like, shit, we got to do a countdown episode of the prelim that he's about to be on the next card, but just so we can have his voice sounding all dramatic on a countdown.
Yeah, great voice.
Yeah, he's got a career in acting or narrating at least.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see him again. Moving down now into the women's bantamweight division, Alexis Davis, veteran, defeats Yulia Stoliarenko by unanimous decision. Mark, staying with you. Go first.
Alexis Davis has that old school game, and that felt like an old school fight. She just made it nasty, bloody, grindy, got the dub, and that's 0-4 for Stoliarenko. So I would imagine that may be the last that we see of her, unfortunately.
All right, Omar, Alexis Davis, the former bantamweight title challenger, getting it done over Stoliarenko. What's your take?
Alexis Davis to me has never been the prettiest striker of them all. But there was something that was so effective about her bouncy Muay Thai stance going into the second round and the third round. And it goes to show you exactly what happens when you invest in calf kicks and leg kicks, because she killed that girl's leg by the third round. And frankly, that's what won the fight, because they were 1-1 going into that third round. And as soon as she killed that girl's leg and she was able to get her back down on the floor, she was never going to get back up. And that won her the fight. So, hashtag leg kicks.
Okay, heading down into the light heavyweight division, Jailton Maladino Almeida defeats Danilo Marques by TKO by punches at 2 minutes and 57 seconds of round number 1. Omar, go first.
Yeah. This is a bad boy right here. I mean, Danilo Marques, in my opinion, is probably not the best gauge for what's to come necessarily. But as far as the performance is concerned, oh shit, because that was crazy and as dominant as it gets. So on to the next one. I'm on board. Keep an eye out for that name.
Mark, Jailton Almeida gets it done over Marques by knockout. What's your take?
Yeah, Jailton Almeida is a problem. They called him the Brazilian Khabib, and wow, if that's what he's going to look like, then maybe that's accurate, because that man was dominant and honestly looked like he could have like taken a nap in there for 5 seconds on top of Marques, and Marques wouldn't have been able to move while he was napping. That was really dominant.
We should also mention, actually, probably one of the best double legs I have seen on a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter in a long goddamn time.
Couldn't agree
Period.
more. Great point.
And Marques was a bigger man in there, but
yeah,
Almeida he looks like he's out of a Marvel comic book, man. His body is like an action figure.
Yes.
And by the way, I have it on good authority. Mikey did his research. His nickname, Maladinho. I'm like, what does Maladinho mean? Reached out to a guy I know who's from Brazil. He said it's actually very difficult to translate into English. It kind of means like a bodybuilder, or like looks like a bodybuilder, kind of, pretty much, loosely translated.
So there you go.
Roughly translated. Okay, 2 more. Heading into the welterweight division, Phillips, second round, TKO over Jason Witt. Omar, go first.
Phillips has got some beautiful, beautiful striking. I mean, the finish itself was Jason Witt thinking that he was far away enough that he was not going to get hit. And Phillips knowing that he was just at the edge of the punch, just far enough where he hit him and it mattered, and not too close where he got power off, not too far where he missed. Just perfect, like a fucking Three Bears kind of punch, man. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
You're gonna say Goldilocks?
Goldilocks? That's what that was.
That's what it was. Okay. It was Goldilocks reference.
It was. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful knockout. I'm super excited to see what happens to him next.
Mark, Phillips with the Goldilocks knockout over Jason Witt.
How am I supposed to follow up after we just compared the range of a punch to the temperature of porridge? Like, what do I do from here?
It's in the Goldilocks zone, man. The Goldilocks zone.
Oh, man. Yeah, that is what a 10.5-inch reach advantage will do for you. Phillips is a long man, but it was a beautiful KO. He just had to, he had to deal with the wrestling early, but he just had to stay in the fight long enough to utilize that reach and find his spot. And he did just that. He had good defensive grappling. He's been doing a ton of grappling events, even though that's not like really his forte, but you can tell the man is trying to work on it. He knows, his frame, he's longer, he's skinny. Dudes are going to look to take him down. So I give him credit because he knows he's got to up that part of his game so he can get back to his feet and do what he did. And in this one, it worked.
Okay, last one of our lightning round in the flyweight division, Malcolm Gordon, round 1, technical submission by injury over Dennis Bondar. Mark, go first.
So this was a weird one, but if you believe Malcolm Gordon's description, he actually gets full credit for this injury here. He said that when he had the armbar attempt blocked in the beginning of the round, that he could, I forget if he said hear it or feel it pop, and he knew that he injured it then. So he said that later when they were in that position against the cage, he was just trying to put as much of his body weight on Bondar as he could so that Bondar had a lean on that left arm that he already knew was injured. And then obviously there it went, which wasn't great to see. So at first I was like, oh man, freak injury, that sucked. But according to Malcolm Gordon, he did that. So credit to him.
Omar, bring us home here. What's your take on Malcolm Gordon getting the submission victory by injury?
Yeah, that was nasty. I didn't really see the armbar was nasty in and of itself, but it did look like to me that he had such a grip on the whizzer going into that little tuffle that they had on the ground there. And it looked like especially once he had him kind of bent over in that weird position, I thought he just put all his weight down on his arm and just made it pop out. I didn't even really consider that the armbar had really that much to do with it at that point, especially because he had gotten out of it. But just the intensity and the pressure that whizzer looked like it had on TV, I can only imagine how much worse it actually was in person. So, yeah, I give him credit for it. I don't think it was a freak injury at all. I think it had to do a lot with what was going on in the fight.
All right, boys. Well, that does it for this week's lightning round. Look, when you do a podcast, when you do a YouTube show, and at this point, what have we done? Probably approaching like 50 hours worth of talking. You say a lot of shit, and sometimes you compare a punch to porridge. It just happens.
It was a good comparison, god damn it.
Oh, we can't always use the same descriptors. We gotta keep it fresh.
I know. Also, I looked it up real quick. The book I thought about, Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art. It's a seminal book, man.
Oh, that is not Do the Work.
Do the Work follow-up book that he wrote, not nearly as famous. The War of Art. Get the audiobook because he narrates it, and he's kind of an intense guy, but it's incredible.
Do the Work is the less famous book?
It's like his follow-up sequel.
Oh, that's funny because that's the one that I know. I don't know. What is it? The War of Art?
The War of Art. A play on words. What? He's a writer, and he writes a short book about not just writing, but like doing your work. Like that's as it seems like it's not a great description, but that's what the book is about.
All right.
Okay.
Carry on.
Let's now put a big old bow on this UFC Fight Night 200 by finding out with Mr. Priaulx here who rose and who fell with this week's update of the Priaulx rankings. Mark.
Welcome to the Priaulx rankings. Yeah, we have a few risers. We have 5 risers this week. So let's rattle them off. First one, Sean Strickland. It's not like it's a huge rise number-wise, but he moves from number 9 to number 6 in my middleweight rankings. He gets that legitimizing win that I was kind of waiting for to jump him over that little grouping, and now he is just outside of the top 5, as he is in the UFC's rankings as well. Next is Nick Maximov, moving from number 58 to number 43 in the middleweight rankings, as you heard from me. I did not think he won that fight, but obviously that was the result, so I got to go with it. So he's now 2-0 in the UFC. We'll see what he does next. Phil Rowe goes from number 61 to number 46 in my welterweight ranking, so a solid jump for him. He underwhelmed in his UFC debut, but he has since rattled off 2 Ws. Really nice one here against a guy in Jason Witt who just beat Brian Barberena recently, so that's a solid win for Phil Rowe. And then 2 debutantes. Number 1 is Chidi Njokuani. Obviously was unranked. He debuts at number 45 in my middleweight rankings, which is a nice spot right out of the gate. He's a guy who's been around, and now he's definitely got a chance to do something, especially with the hype coming off of that KO. So we'll see what happens for him. And then, of course, Jailton Almeida. He was unranked as well. He debuts at number 29 in my light heavyweight rankings. That sounds high, but there's not that many light heavyweights, so it's not terribly high, but certainly jumps himself into the rankings with a good win over Danilo Marquez, who has a couple wins in the UFC himself. The only faller, again, I saw it the other way, but Puna Soriano falls to 2-2 in the UFC so far. He goes from number 40 to number 46 in my middleweight rankings. And honestly, either way, even though I do think he won the fight, I think regardless of that result, it's kind of safe to say that Puna hasn't fully delivered on what a lot of people expected him to be when he first hit the UFC. People were kind of talking like he was going to run right up toward the rankings, and that certainly has not happened for him. So he takes a fall here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that update. And now, folks, let's jump right into all the headlines and biggest stories by going into inside the MMA sphere. Sorry.
Welcome back, guys.
Here we go.
Yeah.
You sound good on that mic, dude.
Right? It's so much easier now without me having to like bend over and like find the right height of books. All right, let's get into the Sphere here. Bad Blood is losing its main event on ONE FC. John Lineker is out of his title fight against Bibiano Hernandez after testing positive for COVID-19. That really sucks because that card looks like it kind of lost its real big star there. So they might be in a little bit of trouble there. So hopefully that fight gets rebooked because I did want to watch that fight. That's a very interesting fight to see how Lineker is doing at this point. Because he's won his last fight, right?
Oh yeah, he's looked good. And
yeah, he's looked good now.
Other, the two of them, they have been going at it. So
yeah,
some drama for that one whenever it does happen.
Next on the list, unfortunately, a little bit on a bad news, not terrible news, but bad news. Chris Lieben, who is obviously the Tough One alum, right? Everybody loves the Ultimate Fighter 1, has unfortunately been hospitalized due to intense breathing issues following a battle with COVID-19. He's had it rough. He hasn't talked about vaccinations, this, that, or the other at all. But he is in the hospital right now, and he is getting treatment for it. So hopefully he comes out of there okay. Next on the list, Amanda Nunes in the news. She actually came out with a statement saying that she went into the Pena fight with 2 bad knees. She had injuries that the doctors actually told her that she shouldn't fight with. And she said she didn't want to pull out of the fight again because she had already pulled out of the fight the first time because of COVID. And she thought she would be in some shit if she pulled out the second time, which I totally believe. And she went into the fight, much less than 100%, and it cost her. So, her whole thing right now is, she's working on getting the knees better. She's obviously been doing that since the fight ended. And then by the time she fights Pena again, she should be 100% and ready to go. So
I'll tell you what, I want to say like, oh, how convenient, but we all said she did not look like herself in that fight. So that actually makes some sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally possible, but I mean, at the same time, the pace that Pena put on was yeah. I really didn't expect Pena to put on that pace at all. It was wild. But it does make, I mean, it makes for interesting banter for the second fight, the what ifs start coming out and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah. Cain Velasquez popped up in the news via Javier Mendez. He was telling MMA Junkie, I guess their Spanish outlet, about Cain potentially wanting or having the ability to return to MMA, I guess, if he wanted to. It's just really a matter of numbers at this point. Cain's not fighting for pennies. He's fighting for millions. So if somebody wants to throw out a good number at him, apparently Cain's ready to go, and he's ready to fight for you. So I don't know if I really want that, to be 100% honest with you, but I'll watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't hate one last attempt, to be honest.
I mean, I'll tell you this, and Mark will love this, I guess. If he shows up in Bellator out of left field, I'm down for Cannonier and Fedor to go at it.
Oh my God, dude!
I'm down for that.
It was a dream matchup.
That would be incredible.
Dream matchup.
I mean, is that not worth the millions?
Yeah, I would book that in a second if I was Coker. I feel like I don't see that going great for Fedor. But I mean, who freaking knows at this point?
You don't think it goes great
at this point, I don't know, man. Sea-level Cain we're long removed from sea-level Cain, dog.
I'm with Omar on this one.
Yeah. I mean, either way, yeah, I would be throwing money at that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Do you see Cain Velasquez in a non-MMA fighting situation, such as a bare knuckle or a triad or something like that?
God, I fucking hope not. I hope not. That dude got hit way too much for that nonsense.
Yeah.
I really hope not. I'd rather see him, and I'm not even a wrestling fan, but I'd rather see him in WWE again or some other such nonsense. But
I agree.
Yeah. Not BKFC.
No.
Next on the list, we all know that Diego Lima and Miguel Baeza have a fight coming up April 16th. Diego Lima has recently announced that 3 weeks after signing the contract to fight Miguel Baeza, he's announced his retirement from the sport. It's kind of hard to explain, I guess, because it's religious in nature. I think if I understood the events, his wife had a conversation with God and passed that conversation along to Diego, and they made the decision as a family that this was going to be his last fight.
Hey.
Look, I'm fine with that.
So he
especially
is taking the fight.
he is taking the fight.
Oh, I thought you meant he was out of the fight. So
No.
He is his retirement fight.
Yes, it was just super unexpected for anybody to think that this was just out of nowhere that his retirement fight.
Right. Okay.
And he didn't really know this until I think he said it was either yesterday or last Tuesday, one of these most recent Tuesdays. And he had a whole breakdown, unfortunately, about it. He was very emotional about it. But I got to be honest with you. So it turns out that he's actually got a very successful career outside of fighting. He runs a massive gym with his brother. Oh my God,
Douglas.
Thank you. Sorry, former Bellator champ Douglas Lima.
Dougie Fresh.
They run a 500 plus member gym out in Brazil. So
doing great.
they're it's not like it's a money thing at this point. It's just that's what both of them do. But with all the damage that Diego Lima has taken in recent years, I am very much okay with this decision. So,
okay.
Yeah, plus Diego Lima is not about to make any kind of run either. So,
right, there's no title in his near future, so this is totally fine. Best to him and his family for sure.
yes.
In the news, Adesanya broke some interesting news that he is most likely now the second highest paid person on the UFC roster. He just signed a new deal with the UFC, which, if you guys remember, I think we discussed it actually a few months ago when they had originally announced the Whittaker-Israel fight for the first time, that Izzy was like, I don't think this is true. Turns out, one, he was annoyed with the fact that they just sort of announced it as like a little ESPN ticker at the bottom and not like a real proper video announcement with some editing and some production value and, for a big fight like that. And he was also annoyed that, or it wasn't annoyed, but he was also in the middle of working on the contract. So I think that might've been some game stuff from the UFC to kind of push negotiations a certain way, because now they had dropped the announcement of this fight that technically hadn't been signed. But that's all in all to say that they finally got this, the fight that they're about to have now against Robert Whittaker signed. I think he said either this week or last week. So it wasn't even technically signed until recently. And they finally got the numbers down, and he apparently is getting paid a shit ton of money now. And
he's a star.
He's moving the needle, man. I mean, it's, if we don't see McGregor, Israel's definitely the next on the list when it comes to the gamesmanship and the showmanship. So I'm always excited to see him fight, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, 100%. Give that kid all the money.
Yeah.
Derrick Brunson in the news for saying he is going to retire from MMA after, quote unquote, beating Cannonier, beating Izzy, and then riding out.
Why? Man.
A man's got to have a dream, I guess, right? I don't buy it, but
you don't think he would retire, or you don't think he's going to beat those guys? I mean, we'll get to his fight with Cannonier.
I mean, first of all, I don't see him beating Izzy ever. Like, ever. So if that's on the required list of things to retire in MMA, that boy is going to be in MMA until he dies. So, or until Izzy retires, I guess.
Hey, man, look at Glover, man. You can stick around. You can make a run late.
I 100% agree.
Not out of the question.
It is if Izzy's in the division. All right, next on the list, Gilbert Burns calling out Chimaev, talking a little shit.
Let's
wants
go.
to derail the hype train that is Chimaev. Nothing is official yet, but when the number 2 guy calls you out, it might just happen, and I'm kind of here for it at this point.
Yeah, let's just do the damn
Let's
thing.
just do it, right? Just rip the Band-Aid off at this point.
Across from someone. If it has to be Gilbert Burns already, then fuck it. Let's go.
You didn't give him Magny. We all wanted Magny. We all knew it should have been Magny, but you didn't want it to be Magny. So just fucking give him Gilbert Burns, and let's be done with it. Let's see what happens.
Yes.
All right, next on the list, these are some fights that are not technically done, but are in the works to be done. AJ McKee versus Patricio Pitbull is a rematch in the works for April. Nothing obviously is set in stone. So AJ McKee will not be going up. He will be staying right where he is and doing that rematch. Usman Edwards 2. You guys may have seen Usman's hand cut clean open and his tendon being mended. That is not stopping Usman from fighting Edwards. That fight will be going down July 2nd during International Fight Week. Oh my God, I would love to go to International Fight Week this year. So, dude, quick sidebar. I was supposed to go to International Fight Week with Francesca the year COVID happened. We had our hotel booked and everything.
Damn. Quick question. What is International Fight Week?
International Fight Week is basically an event that takes place, I want to say, like 3 to 5 days in Las Vegas. Usually that week, and I don't know if they've been, I feel like they've been changing up in the recent years, but usually it held like 3 different events in the same week. So we would get like a tough finale that week. We would get a fight night on like a Friday, and then we would get a pay-per-view on the Saturday. And so it would be like a crazy amount of fights. There would be all these like fan events in Vegas.
Is it like a Comic-Con but for fighting?
Basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Basically.
Okay. Like there's a bunch of, it's like a big event center. There's a bunch of booths with retired fighters, current fighters, signing autographs, taking pictures.
Yes.
Pretty much.
That's cool. That's
Yep.
cool. Good for them.
So I definitely want to make sure I do one of those before I die, man. I was so close to the fucking COVID. All right, on to our fight announcements. Quick update on next week's card, actually. Julian Marquez is out of next week's card against Jamie Pickett. Kyle Dawkins is now taking his place and will fight Jamie Pickett on February 19th. Alir Latifi versus Alexei Olenek has been added to the UFC Columbus card on March 26th. Ian Gary versus Darian Weeks has been added to UFC 273 on April 9th. Ian Gary getting a quick bump up to stay on these big pay-per-view cards. Amanda Lemos versus Jessica Andrade will be headlining UFC Fight Night on April 23rd. That is a banger.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out how that fight's going to go, if it's going to stay standing or if Andrade's even going to be able to take it to the ground, but a banger nonetheless.
I didn't foresee the Andrade move of dropping back down to strawweight, but I'm here for that fight.
Yeah. Jared Gordon versus Rafael Alves added to UFC Fight Night April 30th. Also a great fight. Jessica Penne back in the mix versus Luana Pinheiro. That has been rebooked against for UFC Fight Night April 30th. If I'm not mistaken, Penne got COVID the first time, right? Or somebody got COVID in that fight.
Probably.
I think it was a COVID thing. Pauliana Viana versus Tabitha Ricci has been added to UFC Fight Night May 21st. Good to see Pauliana Viana back, see what she does. Dan Ige versus Movsar Ivolev. Did I say that right?
I think it's Evloev.
Evloev. Yeah, Evloev. That's right.
Boy, that's a good-ass fight.
In the works for June 4th, UFC Fight Night, along with Poliana Botello versus Karine Silva, excuse me. That's also been added to June 4th. And those are the fight announcements.
Hey.
I want to thank you guys for coming in to the
Hey.
MMA Hour. MMA Sphere, not MMA Hour. That's my bad.
I mean, dude, it's sexy on that mic. I'm not gonna lie.
Guy doesn't even know the name of his own freaking segment.
Oh,
At least I got to say fight announcements and I stopped saying fight picks.
epics.
You did.
You know, baby steps, man. Baby steps.
Don't expect so much from me.
Real quick, before we hop into this weekend's card, if you guys, once again, are still with us, thank you so much. If you're watching this on YouTube, once again, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so that you never miss an episode. If you like what you're seeing, do us a big favor too. Drop us a comment. Anything that you like, don't like, questions, concerns, any questions you want to throw up to us, let us know in the comments or DM us on social media at @ANNEW_MMA show. And of course, find us wherever you get your podcasts. With that being said, gentlemen, let's look to the future. This coming weekend, UFC 271. Adesanya versus Whittaker 2. Taking place February 12th at the Toyota Center in H-Town, Houston, Texas. Great card, 15 bouts. We got early prelims on this one. Prelims, MMA card. Great fights up and down this card. Let us work our way up. We won't preview all 15 bouts because we don't have all night. We're going to highlight a few of the early prelims, and take you through the entire main card, of course. On the early prelims, the fights we're going to highlight are these three. Hernandez versus Moicano, Modafferi versus O'Neal, and Perez versus Schnell. But first, gentlemen, any fights on the early prelims or prelims that you guys want to highlight for our audience real quick?
Yeah, so Izzy was actually the one to highlight this gentleman. Mike Blood Diamond Mathitha is making his UFC debut. He's 3-0. I think he's got knockouts in all of his fights. He's coming in apparently with a ton of hype thanks to Izzy. He'll be opening the card, the entire event as the first card or the first fight on the early prelims. He's fighting Jeremiah Wells. So I'm interested to see what he does. Let's see what happens.
Okay. Mark, anything from you?
Yeah, curious note on that one. Blood Diamond does seem to have all this hype, but part of me wonders how much of that is just coming from Izzy and not actually from like the MMA world, because I was surprised to see that he is like a 2-1 underdog in this fight. Wells is like minus 230 favorite. So I'm wondering if he's a little overblown, but I guess we're going to find out.
Yep.
I mean, hell of a nickname though.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not the most star-studded prelims ever, but there's a lot of like quality fights. Douglas Silva de Andrade is fighting Sergey Morozov. Whoever comes out of that is going to be working their way up the bantamweight ranks. You have AJ Dobson debuting, who is kind of the twin protege of Matt Brown and Mark Coleman. They're kind of, he has dual mentors in those two guys. He looked really good on Contender Series. He's debuting against Jacob Malkoun, who looked really good in his last fight. So we'll see what happens between them. You have Izzy's other boy, Carlos Olberg, who Izzy talked up prior to his debut. He kind of came out really hot against Kennedy and Chukwu and then kind of blew his load. So we will see if he can get a little more together in this fight. You have Ronnie Lawrence, who looked like a fantastic wrestler in his debut. This will be his second fight. We'll see how he looks. William Knight is a giant man at light heavyweight who's moving up the rankings. Yeah. He's got a tricky matchup with Maxim Grishin here. We'll see how he looks. And then, of course, the trustworthy Andrei Arlovsky in a fight that I have no idea why he's in. I don't understand how Jared Vandera got himself a fight with Andrei Arlovsky, but always fun to watch Andre. So those aren't even the ones we're discussing, and there's some worthwhile fights in there. So it's a lot of fights on this card, but it's quality.
Alrighty, so on to our more thorough breakdowns in the early prelims. In the lightweight division, Alexander the Great Hernandez taking on Renato Moicano. Hernandez, 29-year-old, out of San Antonio, Texas. He's 13-4 with 8 finishes. He's 3-3 in his last 6, coming off of a win against Mike Breeden back in October. Moicano, the 32-year-old Brazilian, fighting out of Coconut Creek, Florida. He's 15-4 with 8 wins by submission. I love this. No knockouts or TKOs on his record at all. No wins by knockout. He's 2-3 in his last 5, though. He's coming off of a submission win over Jay Herbert back in June. Omar, let's start with you. What is your take on Alexander the Great taking on Renato Moicano in lightweight?
Stylistically, it's actually super interesting because I think Alexander Hernandez could actually hold his own against Moicano when it comes to the striking. But I do think Alexander Hernandez has a bit of an edge when it comes to the ground game, especially getting it to the ground. He has great takedowns and he has great control on the ground. And I feel like that might be where it edges out, especially if Moicano can't really get his hands on him throughout the entire fight. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I think Hernandez ends up coming out the winner of that fight.
Mark, what about you? What's your take? What's your pick? Hernandez versus Moicano.
You're so negative hitting Moicano with he's lost 3 out of 5. He has more recently won 2 out of 3. You could have gone that.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And since moving up to lightweight, he's won 2 out of 3. And the loss was to Fiziev, who is obviously a monster. But anyway, I'm just giving you shit. But the odds for this fight, I'm going to give you guys the odds for all the remaining fights that we talk about here. Hernandez is a small dog, plus 140. Moicano is minus 170. Neither guy being favored would have surprised me there. So that's, decent favorite for Moicano. I like this fight a lot. What it's doing on the early prelims, I couldn't tell you. If it was me, I think I might have this fight on the main card, but it's going to be a big win for whoever gets it. I think that Hernandez probably has the advantage on the feet based on his power and explosiveness, but I think Moicano, while he's not like a knockout threat, he can certainly hang on the feet. He's a responsible striker. He's hung in there with some legit dudes. I think Moicano has the advantage on the mat, but I also think Hernandez is underrated there. So I don't know. I kind of was ready to pick Moicano when I first was thinking about this fight, but the more I thought about it, Hernandez has never been subbed, and Moicano's chin has certainly been cracked a few times. So I started to think maybe I was on the wrong side of this, and I kind of think right now I'm gonna lean Hernandez. I could see myself go back and forth on this one as the week goes on. It just feels like such a close fight that could play out in different ways, but I think I'm slightly leaning Hernandez right now to take a decision in a close fight.
Real quick. Did you guys know that Renato Moicano is not his fucking name?
Renato Carnero, right?
Carniero.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not surprised. He's Brazilian.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Brazilians all have many names. We've been over this.
And Moicano means, like, I guess supposedly according to Google, Mike, you might want to double check with your boy, but it means Mohican.
Mohegan, like Native American?
Like Rise of the Mohicans, like
Last of the Mohicans?
Like Native Americans? Or Last of the Mohicans?
Yeah.
It means Kevin Costner. That's what it means.
Obviously, I've never seen that fucking movie.
I love that.
That's
movie.
also not Kevin Costner.
You should watch that.
Kevin Costner was in Dances with Wolves.
That's right.
Also true. I didn't even catch you on that. But hold on. Pause the show. Not really pause the show, Omar, when you edit this later. But pause the MMA talk. You watch every movie that comes out, even if it is a movie where I see the commercial and I'm like, that's going to be the worst movie I've ever seen. You go to the movie theater and you watch it, and you haven't seen Last of the friggin' Mohicans?
Dude, Daniel Day-Lewis.
I have not seen Last of the Mohicans.
Get it together. That's a friggin' classic.
Listen, I'll give it a shot. I watched Mud after you told me to watch Mud. That was really good, actually. I really enjoyed that.
There we go. So now I'm telling you, watch Last of the Mohicans. Damn, I might have a list for you if you only recently became a movie buff.
Do it. No, I didn't recently. It's hard for me to go back up for things that I've never seen. And
We'll do that one. All right.
Give me a list though. I work from home. I need shit to watch.
For the sake of the listeners, let's swing this back into MMA.
All right, game on. Where are we at?
I don't know where we
finished.
At.
That was
okay. Let's go into the fucking prelims now.
We're on to the next fight.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. In a flyweight bout, Alex Perez takes on Matt Schnell. We got Perez, the 29-year-old, fighting out of California, coming off of a loss to a guy by the name of Davison Figueiredo back in November of 2020. Matt Schnell, 32-year-old out of Louisiana. He's 15-6 with 10 finishes. He's coming off of a no contest against Rogerio Bontorin back in May of 2021. Omar, I'm going to send this one up to you first.
This is actually a really interesting fight, especially stylistically. Alex Perez, I think on paper, probably has the edge, obviously, over Matt Schnell. Loss to Davison Figueiredo and a loss to Joseph Benavidez isn't really, I can't really fault him for any of that, especially when he's beating the shit out of everybody else. So, he's a dangerous kid, man. He's a dangerous kid. He's dangerous stylistically. Matt Schnell is a problem in his own right, but he's just there. To me, there just seems to be more passive victory for Alex Perez. I think if it goes to the ground, I don't think Matt Schnell necessarily has a better an overall advantage over Alex Perez, and I think Alex Perez is way better on the feet. So I think I'm going to go with Alex Perez by knockout.
Mark, send over to you. What's your take, Alex Perez or his opponent, Matt Schnell?
So Perez is a big favorite here, minus 400. Matt Schnell is plus 300. We've broken this one down before. They were supposed to fight at UFC 269 a couple months back, and it got delayed. And I have the same take now that I did then, which is I just think Alex Perez is the better fighter here. I think that his power and his grit are going to kind of be the difference. I think he's more of a dog. I think he can overwhelm Schnell, and I think that he eventually finds a finish in a fight that he has been winning the whole way. I'll say Perez gets a late TKO, third round TKO.
Okay. All righty. Moving into the women's flyweight division, Roxanne Modafferi takes on Casey O'Neill. Modafferi, the 39-year-old, has announced that this will be her final fight of her career. She's closing the book on this one. She is fighting out of Las Vegas. She's 25-19, coming off of back-to-back losses, looking to end her career on a win. Casey O'Neill, the 24-year-old, much younger, also fighting out of Las Vegas. She's undefeated, 8-0, 5 finishes, 5-0 in the UFC. She's coming off of a win most recently against Antonina Shevchenko back in October. Mark, let me start with you on this one.
I like what I've seen from Casey O'Neill a lot so far. Apparently, the bookies agree. She is minus 380. Roxy is plus 290. Yeah, this is going to be the last one we see from Roxanne Modafferi. She's one of those unique characters that we see in the MMA world that you got to appreciate. Obviously, O'Neill's a huge favorite, but I don't think this is like a layup type of fight. First of all, Roxy, while she's lost a couple, she beat Andrea Lee like a year ago. So it's not like she's fallen off a cliff somehow. And on top of that, O'Neill is not some great athlete or great striker, which are kind of the two types of people that trouble Roxy. O'Neill, her fights tend to end up on the mat. So I think it's safe to say that Roxy should be able to hang down there. I mean, that's kind of her forte. So I think plus 90 is like decent money on Roxy as a dog. Still, in terms of picking a winner, I am going to pick Casey. I just think that she has shown to be very relentless, like impressively relentless in trying to hurt her opponent. Like it's very difficult to get her to like take a breath in there. She goes for it the whole time. And I think that is what eventually overwhelms Roxy. I don't know if I think a finish or if I just think kind of like the fight swings into O'Neill really taking it over. I don't want to say Roxy gets finished in her last fight. I'll say decision.
Okay, Omar, before we head up into this main card, give us your take and your pick on this fight, Modafferi versus O'Neill.
Yeah, so I love Modafferi. She was, before you had Izzy making, us nerds look cool, Modafferi was the one walking out with Super Saiyan wigs on and doing all kinds of weird walkouts and things like that, or weigh-ins and things. So I was always a big fan of Modafferi. Just always also seemed like just a genuinely nice person. She also recently got engaged in the last few months, so
that's right.
There's a lot of positive things going on in her life. So I'm hoping that she can walk out of here with a W. Probably the worst matchup for her to have for her last fight.
Yeah, they could have been nicer.
Yeah, they really could have been, but that's how the cookie crumbles. And I can't really see Roxanne winning this fight as much as I really, really, really want to. I just think Casey O'Neill is better everywhere. I kind of get where your point is about the ground game, Mark. I just feel like the aggression from Casey O'Neill will make a difference. And I think once Casey O'Neill gets on top, I don't actually see Roxanne being able to get back up. And so as much as I want her not only to win and not get TKO'd, I kind of think she will. But goddamn it, prove me wrong, Roxy. Just prove me wrong.
Nice. All right, boys, let us now head up into this main card of UFC 271, Adesanya versus Whittaker 2. Starting out in the main card is a lightweight bout between Bobby King Green and Nasrat Haqparast. Okay, Bobby Green, 35-year-old, fighting out of California. He is 28-12 with 18 finishes. He's coming off of that beautiful win, first-round finish over raging Al Iaquinta back in November. Haqparast, 26-year-old, fighting out of Hamburg, Germany. He's 13-4 with 9 finishes coming off of a loss to Dan Hooker back in September. Omar, let me start with you on this one. What's your take and what's your pick of this beautiful lightweight bout between Bobby Green and Nasrat Haqparast?
Yeah, it's a hell of a fight. And I told you guys after the Dan Hooker fight with Nasrat, I'm interested to see what his progression is after that fight, because that's one of those fights that I think really sets the tone for where you are in the division, what you need to do, what the elite looks like at that point. So I'm interested to see what his improvements have been. Mm-hmm. Bobby Green's been around for a minute now. We all know Bobby Green. We all know how he fights. We all know what he does, what he brings to the table. I'm here for a Bobby Green fight any day of the week.
Hell yeah.
As far as where this fight goes, I want to say that Nasrat has made those significant improvements. I have yet to see that. What I do know is Bobby brings the fight. He's not necessarily going to let somebody just kind of lay on him, especially at this point, I think, in his career. And I think his striking is just going to end up being too dynamic for Nasrat. So I'm going to go with Bobby Green by KO, second round.
Nice. Mark, bringing you in. What's your take? What's your pick? Bobby Green versus Haqparast.
So Bobby Green, slight favorite, -150. Haqparast, +120. It is possible that 40 some odd fights into his career at age 35, my boy Bobby Green is the best he's ever been. He is on a hell of a run right now. Literally all of his losses going back about 5 years are arguable losses. His performance against Fiziev looks even better in retrospect as we're seeing how good Fiziev is. He just put the final nail in Ally Quinta's career, as you mentioned. The dude is rolling right now. I would have really liked to see him get something more than Nasrat Haqparast here. One more, I should say. I've never really been a Haqparast guy, as it seems the two of you are a little more than me. We'll find out if I'm wrong, I guess, on Saturday. But I just see Green outclassing and out-toughing Haqparast in this one. I don't think that he has the weapons needed or the variety needed to knock Bobby Green off his game. So I think Bobby Green rolls. I will say it's a decision.
I say we are in the Bobby Green puts it all together phase of his career.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep rolling with Bobby Green. I'm going to take Bobby Green by knockout. Let's go second round.
Nice.
Dude, you know what what crazy take we should have taken for 2022? Bobby Green putting together a title run.
Okay.
It's not crazy if he got the correct matchups. I don't mean a title run where he could win it, but like where he gets in some big fight.
But just like if I had told you in 2020 that in 2022 Bobby Green was going to make a real title run,
yeah,
I think you would have looked at me a little funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. And
sure.
Still, it would be a lot to ask for him to actually do that. A run into the rankings, yeah. A title run, that's hard in lightweight division.
That lightweight, that's
listen, some short notice fights, man.
We were in a different division.
For sure. Let's keep going, boys. Okay, in the bantamweight division, Kyler Matrix Phillips takes on Marcelo Pitbull. How do you say his last name? Is it Rojo?
Rojo.
Okay, we got Phillips, one of my favorite new fighters.
I'm actually not sure of that now that I think about it. I think it's Rojo.
It's Rojo. He's Argentinian, so it's Rojo.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And I have that in my notes that he's Argentinian. So it's just the Brazilian influence, man. Everything, all R's are H's now. We got Phillips, young guy, 26-year-old fighting out of Phoenix. He is 9-2 in his career. He's fresh, man, with 6 finishes, coming off of that majority loss decision against Howley and Paiva back in July. Rojo, 33-year-old fighting out of Cordoba, Argentina. He's 16-7 with 15 finishes. My man can finish fights. He is, though, coming off of a loss against Charles Jourdain back in March of 2021. Mark, let's start with you. Phillips versus Rojo. What's your take?
Big favorite here as well in Kyler Phillips. He's -410. Rojo is +310. I'm not sure that I get the matchmaking here. Phillips is like a borderline top 15 bantamweight. He was ranked prior to that inexplicable loss that we all know should have been a draw. He hasn't lost in the UFC yet other than that weird result. And he's booked against Rojo, who is 0-1 in the UFC. He lost to Charles Jourdain, who is obviously of a lower standing than Kyler Phillips. So I'm not exactly sure how we arrived at this point. As you mentioned, he's a dangerous dude, but it's not like he has some huge hype or anything to warrant this. So I don't know. It's strange matchmaking to me. But I just see Phillips being more explosive, more dangerous, more dynamic. and hopefully being a bit more patient after what happened in his last fight when he kind of blew it after the first round a bit. And I think he puts it on Rojo. I will say that he finds a finish in the second. TKO.
Okay. Like it. Omar, give us your take and your pick for Phillips versus Rojo.
Yeah, at this point, having seen Kyler Phillips a few times, my confidence in him wanes, especially the longer the fight goes. Rojo seems to be more of an aggressive fighter, for better or worse. But I don't know. I see him being able to catch Kyler Phillips somewhere down the road. I think I'm going to go with Rojo by KO round 3.
Oh, baby.
Wow, that will be props to you if you get that one.
Dude, I'm high on Kyler Phillips. I'm a big Kyler Phillips fan. I feel like when I liked Steph Curry when he was like a rookie and like on a bad Warriors team, and then like fast forward 6 years, he's like the greatest of all time, and that's like really stupid to be a Steph Curry fan. I feel that way about Kyler Phillips. Yes, I'm not okay. Am I calling him the Steph Curry of MMA? Maybe I am right now. I might come to regret that. We'll see.
Yeah,
that was a hell of a freaking comparison, Mike.
That's a lot. That's a lot, Mike.
Kyler Phillips, my God, I think he just collapsed from the weight you put on his shoulders.
Okay, let's keep going. We are going into a very high-profile middleweight bout between Jared Cannonier and Derrick Brunson. Cannonier, the 37-year-old out of Phoenix, Arizona. He is 14-5 in his career with 11 finishes, gentlemen. He is, of course, coming off of that loss against Kelvin Gastelum back in August. And Derrick Brunson, 38-year-old, fighting out of Wilmington, North Carolina. He's 23-7 in his career with 16 finishes, riding a 5-fight win streak into this fight. Most recent win coming against Darren Till by submission, rear naked choke back in September. Omar, let's start with you for this one. Cannonier, Brunson, high-profile middleweight bout. What's your take?
Somebody made a point today to point out that Super Saiyan Brunson has yet to lose.
Yep, I've been saying it.
And it's kind of crazy because this blonde shit that's been going around seems to be working for a lot of people.
Yeah, man. Oliveira.
I don't know. I don't know what's in that sauce, man, but people need to start bleaching their hair. Look, stylistically, it's a super interesting fight. I mean, both guys, I want to say, have very similar tools. I would say Brunson is probably more wrestling heavy than obviously Cannonier is, but I don't think Cannonier is necessarily going to be outclassed when it comes to the wrestling or the ground game. Both of them have very, very heavy hands. Both of them are extremely strong. I mean, I'd be interested. When Mark gives his take, I'd be interested to hear what the line is for this, because if I had to guess, plus and minus probably 100, in the hundreds, 120, 150, something in there, because this is a pick'em fight. You could really go either way and have a good reason for both. So if I'm gonna gun to my head, I can't really go against blonde Brunson if I don't have a real good reason. So I'm going to go with Brunson by unanimous decision.
Okay. Mark, give us your take. Give us your pick. Cannonier versus Brunson.
So the odds are wider than I expected. I agree. I thought this thing was going to be like a straight pick'em, like
really?
barely different. And it is in the hundreds, but Cannonier's minus 175, which is significant. Like that's like, you're a good favorite. I thought this was going to really be a pick'em. Brunson is plus 145. So yeah, this is a huge fight. I'm a little surprised they didn't get the co-main billing, honestly, especially since they're fighting, you would think, to determine who's fighting the winner of the main event. It felt like it kind of should have been the co-main there, but heavyweights, the UFC loves heavyweights. But Jared Cannonier has won 4 of 5. Derrick Brunson has won 5 in a row. And more than likely, unless it's some boring fight, whoever wins this fight is getting the title shot. It's a tough one for me because both of these guys are fighters that I have struggled to get on board with a lot of the time. And now they're fighting each other. So it's very easy for me to like pick out flaws and say, why I think they could lose. But because of that, it's a little hard for me to say who I actually think wins. Cannonier is certainly capable of deterring Brunson's takedowns. He's a strong dude. He's got solid takedown defense. He is a better grappler than you think he is. And of course, he has the power to change things on the feet. But does he actually let his hands go enough to do that? He's probably going to be the less active guy as a whole. And if he can't stop takedowns, will he be able to get up from under Brunson with how heavy Brunson has looked on top of guys lately? Brunson has fought a lot smarter during this stretch, but part of me wonders if his dominance over Shabazian, who can't really wrestle, Holland, who can't really wrestle, and Darren Till, who apparently was very injured, is overinflating our judgment of the dominance of his wrestling lately. So if Brunson can't get Cannonier down, I'm not sure he can actually win a fight standing against Cannonier. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions. Personally, I wish the fight was 5 rounds. I think that would have maybe brought some more fun angles into it. But when it comes down to it, as much as I'm nervous about this Brunson wrestling success being maybe a little bit of a mirage, the fighter that has impressed me more of late has been Derrick Brunson. He feels like he's on a roll. His top game has looked just crazy heavy. Like dudes cannot get out from under him. And I know how strong Cannonier is. So maybe this is the guy that does that if he ends up on the bottom, but I'm struggling to find something to make me lean away. So I think it's that top game. If the fight ends up going down for Brunson, that will make me lean there. I think he could pick up some chunks of points on the ground. So I'll say Brunson 29-28 in a good fight.
Nice. I tend to agree with you, Mark. I see Brunson using wrestling to get a decision victory over Cannonier. And he's going to take his win. He's going to keep going down the road, up these rankings. Cannonier's supposed to be the better guy on the feet, I think. And he may catch Brunson. I feel like this happened a little bit against Till, where the moment Brunson feels like it's not going his way on the feet, he's going to shoot and he's going to secure a takedown. And we're going to see a lot of top control from Derrick Brunson. And he's going to cruise to a decision victory. That's what I think.
I see that. The concern is what happens if he gets clipped, as he's prone to do, shoots the takedown, and can't get that takedown. Then he's, that's where that fight changes. So it'll be interesting to see how Cannonier can stand up to the takedowns of Brunson. Yeah. That's going to be what probably dictates the result of the fight.
Yeah. For me, it's not even if he gets clipped. It's what if Brunson can't take him down at all? I mean, Cannonier is a bit. You got to remember, Cannonier also has come down from what? Heavyweight? Light heavyweight?
Heavyweight to light heavyweight.
He was a heavyweight at one point, yeah.
Yeah, dude probably lost a lot of weight. There is mass and density in those muscles. That shit doesn't go away. So Derrick Brunson's going to have, I think, is going to be very hard pressed to try to take this kid down. And if he can't, I just don't think Derrick Brunson has the kind of hands to just overwhelm Cannonier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like I said, I'm going purely off the fact that Derrick Brunson's on a roll because on paper, I don't see it.
Okay. So we have made it to the co-main event of the evening, and what a co-main we have here, boys. A heavyweight bout between two of the hardest hitters in the heavyweight division in the UFC and two of the biggest fan favorites, that being Derrick the Black Beast Lewis taking on Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa. Oh my goodness. Derrick Lewis, the 37-year-old from H-Town, hometown, fighting on his home turf, Houston, Texas. He is the UFC knockout king. He holds the record for the most knockouts in UFC history. He's overall 26-8 with 21 of those wins coming by way of knockout. Most recently, brutally knocking out Chris Daukaus, back in December. Tai Tuivasa, though, he is no slouch. The 28-year-old from Australia, his record stands at 13-3, 12 of those victories coming by way of knockout. Tuivasa is riding a 4-fight win streak coming into this fight. His most recent knockout win coming over Augusto Sakai at UFC 269 back in December. Omar, let me throw it up to you first. What is your take on this fight that is surely not going to the scorecards.
We hope not, right? Honestly, man, I kind of hate this fight just on a personal level. Like in an MMA world, this is the fight that you want, all right? But God damn it, I'm just such a fan of both of these guys that like I don't really want to watch either one of them lose at this point. Yeah, Derrick Lewis has just done so much to get to where he's at. That's how like wanting him to lose just seems like a dick move. And then Tai Tuivasa went from a 3-fight losing streak where I think we all kind of had him a little checked out at that point, to then just have a 4-fight win streak and just be knocking dudes out. And I mean, can't be happier for him. Is now like the shoey master. It's like expected of him at this point. Matter of fact, that's why my pick is going to be my pick. Derrick Lewis is going to win this fight, because I do not want to see this man drink any beer from the cup of Derrick Lewis. So that is my pick, Derrick Lewis.
Okay, Mark, give us your take and your pick. Derrick Lewis versus Tai Tuivasa.
Fights do not get much more fun than this fight. Lewis is minus 190 favorite. Tuivasa is plus 155 underdog. Sometimes you get 2 KO artists and you say this has to be a slugfest, and it doesn't turn out that way. If this one right here is not a slugfest, it has to mean that like an asteroid hit the earth. Like there is no other way that this fight can go. You can't find 2 sluggier guys than these 2 guys. As I've said on this show before, I rate Derrick Lewis very highly. He doesn't, and I guess never will, get the respect that he should have. And I love Tai Tuivasa. I've always believed in him, even through his losing streak. I always saw the potential. He's tapping into it now, and he is clearly the best version of himself that he has been thus far. But going from Greg Hardy to Augusto Sakai to Derrick Lewis in only 2 fights is just a crazy progression. And I'm not sure if Tuivasa is ready to handle that big of a jump already. Now, if they simply just walk out to the middle and bang, which is definitely possible, then any analysis really goes out the window, because in that scenario, Tai could absolutely win, especially because he may even have the better chin of the 2. I feel like we have seen Lewis hurt more than we've seen Tuivasa hurt. But assuming there is at least some tact here, which I do expect there to be, I just think Lewis is the better fighter still at this point in time. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. I think he is the more responsible fighter defensively, which is a key in a fight where 2 guys are throwing hammers. And Ty's game is to kind of walk you down, and I don't think you can do that against Derrick Lewis without paying for it. So I just think Derrick Lewis has more experience winning fights in more ways and finding more avenues to land that blow. I don't want to say Ty can't do it because I love the guy, but I just think the smart pick is Lewis being a step ahead, finding more opportunities to land, and then landing one too many for Tai Tuivasa's chin. I hope we get at least more than 1 round of this. So because of that hope, I'll say Derrick Lewis by 2nd round knockout.
Like it a lot. Yeah, I hope we get more than like 4 minutes of fighting.
Yeah.
I got to go with Derrick Lewis here. You got to stay with the knockout king. Although I think I will be rooting for Tai Tuivasa. He definitely feels like the underdog here. I mean, anybody who's going up against the UFC knockout king is the underdog. I mean, come on. I think it would just be so cool for Tuivasa to get the biggest win of his career.
Huge. It'd be huge.
He would do 20 shoeys right after he wins.
He's gonna do the cuppy. He's gonna take Derrick Lewis.
How's he gonna get it? Who's not gonna give it to him?
Because if
Lewis had an interview. Lewis will 100% give it to him.
You know what I'm saying is
we are in a messed up universe, man.
What I'm saying is, sure, Lewis can say that, but if Tuivasa wins, he's most likely knocking Derrick Lewis out.
Listen,
what is he gonna do? Like go and like reach into his drawers and get his cup out?
Something tells me that Tuivasa will wait for them to wake this man up.
I don't want to see that at all.
I don't want to see that. I mean,
Dawkins got up after a few seconds. He'll give him the few seconds.
If
Hey, bud, let me get that cup you were talking about real quick.
And also, what if Derrick Lewis, if he loses, is like, nah, man, fuck you. You beat me.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I
can't see.
I don't see Lewis pulling a Deontay Wilder. I don't see it.
Lewis is going for that H-Town redemption though after underperforming against Cyril Gane.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was gonna say, if Ty ever did find a way to win this fight, his popularity would go through the roof because I'm sure he's already super popular in Australia and New Zealand and that part of the world. But being on a card with Izzy on it and with Whittaker on it, thinking about how many people are tuning in from over there, to see him in the co-main knockout Derrick Lewis, that dude would blow up over there. Blow up.
And you made a good point, Mark, about the chin part of it. The chin is one part of it, but the other part of it is Derrick Lewis doesn't like getting hit. And Ty doesn't really have that much of a problem as in getting hit. Like if you watch the Greg Hardy fight, Greg clipped him. You know, it hurts. He takes it, but like he's not really deterred by getting hit. Where like Derrick Lewis gets hit and he's like, man, fuck this. And he sort of like backs up and shells up and like tries to get away from the danger. But Tuivasa's like, I'm just going to crack you if you keep trying to hit me.
I fully agree with that take, except I don't know if Tuivasa will have the choice to be undeterred if Derrick Lewis's fist cleanly hits Tuivasa's chin.
Yeah, very possible. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like I've always had the impression that Derrick Lewis is pretty durable, especially for a heavyweight.
That boy does not like getting hit.
Times, man.
What's that, Mark?
He's been finished a handful of times.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Gane just finished him recently.
Yeah.
And just look at the way he takes damage though. Like a lot of the times when he's in that cage, he's not necessarily taking damage. He's usually very forward pressure and trying to put a lot of strikes together. But in the times where people have gotten the better of him, I think Mark Hunt was also a guy that beat the hell out of him.
I was just thinking about,
I mean, these are guys that were able to
got him out
to really like beat on him, and he does not like it. He shells up. It's the same. It's the same type of finish in every single one of his fights. Nobody has put him to sleep. They hit him. They hit him in the head. He doesn't like that shit, so he starts to back up. And then they hit him in the body. He doesn't like that shit at all, so he curls up. And then eventually he ends up on the floor, and then the referee just calls the fight. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So there's an avenue, which is probably why the odds are as tight as they are. Like it's not what the name value is like, man, Derrick Lewis, but there's an avenue.
For sure. All right, boys, let's do it to it, man. Let's hit up this main event, middleweight title bout between Israel, the last stylebender Adesanya, versus Robert the Reaper Whittaker, a.k.a. Bobby Knuckles. This is the rematch. Okay, we got Adesanya, 32-year-old, 6'4", fighting out of Auckland, New Zealand. His record stands at 21-1, 21-1, 21-0 at middleweight. This will be his fourth middleweight title defense, and he's coming off of a successful title defense against Marvin Vettori at UFC 263 back in June. Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whittaker, 31 years old only. 5'11", fighting out of Sydney, Australia, born in Auckland, New Zealand. His record stands at 23-5 with 14 finishes, and he is riding a 3-fight win streak, most recently beating Kelvin Gastelum back in April of 2021. Mark, let's start with you here. What is your take on this big-time rematch at the middleweight division, Adesanya versus Whittaker 2?
So betting odds, Izzy is a bigger favorite than I expected him to be. He is minus 290. Whittaker is plus 230. I thought that would be tighter. I love this fight. I love that we're finally here after it seeming like we were never getting to this fight actually, happening with COVID and not knowing where it was going to take place and all that. Finally here. You guys have heard me talk about it before, but this is the middleweight fight I've been needing. Yes, Izzy versus like new and improved Brunson could be interesting, or Izzy versus Cannonier, or even Strickland, but whoever else it may be, none of those in my head are even close to the level of fight that Izzy and Whittaker is. People forget about Robert Whittaker, man. Izzy wiped him off the map 2 years ago with relative ease, and people seem to have just kind of forgotten who Robert Whittaker is. I mean, the man has won 12 of 13 fights. His most recent loss, other than Izzy, was in 2014. He's won 3 straight since losing to Izzy, one of whom was over Jared Cannonier, who some people are like, man, I wish I could see Cannonier fight Izzy. Well, Whittaker just beat him. You know, the dude is a bad, bad man. And on top of that, as I've mentioned before, the first time he fought Izzy, he was stepping into the cage after a 16-month layoff due to injury, right into what we now know was the most difficult title defense of his career. That's a hard thing to ask out of a guy who hasn't fought in that long and who had to work through an injury and all that. So you could see it. And in my opinion, he wasn't as comfortable in there. He didn't seem like he was, used to it. Like he was rushing, he was lunging in. It wasn't a great night for him. And I'm thrilled that he gets a second chance at this. And hey, if Izzy beats him again, then it is what it is. Izzy's the better man. But I need to see this rematch to determine that for sure. And I'm glad we're getting it. Izzy, of course, since that time has continued marching through middleweights. He did have his little foray up to 205 where he lost the uninspiring fight to Jan. But at 185, he still seems to be a level above the pack. A quick aside on Izzy that I hate to even have to bring up is that it is getting harder and harder for me to believe that Izzy is a clean fighter. We had the one gyno incident, which was weird, and he kind of tried to explain it away. And I don't know anything personally about gyno and all this. So, like, I don't want to straight up accuse the man, but he now has gyno again. Weeks before a fight again. Like the timing is just pretty curious. And I don't really get what the explanation could be that he now has had gyno going into 2 different fights. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if you guys have even seen the picture, but like it's very clear, very abnormal looking.
I thought it was the same gyno.
What the fuck is gyno?
It's the breast tissue.
That inflammation of his pec?
Yeah, don't you remember that?
It's not the muscle. It's not the muscle.
Yeah, I remember them saying it had to do with him smoking weed.
That's what he said. And then it went away and everyone was like, oh, maybe it was. And now he has it again.
I thought he had it every fight.
No, dude, he didn't have it. He didn't have it since that fight.
Really? I thought he did have it a little bit.
I don't know.
Hold on. Which fight was it where it first kind of popped up?
That was the...
Was it the Costa fight?
Costa? No, who was before?
Romero?
Costa? No, so maybe it was the Costa fight.
I think it was the Costa fight. I don't think it was the Romero fight.
Didn't have it against,
yeah, it was the Costa fight. It was the Costa fight.
Didn't have it against Jan or Vettori?
Not that
I feel like it never went away. Huh.
I didn't think he did.
Okay.
But I don't know. All I know is that I didn't think he had it. And then this most recent picture was like super puffy, weird breast again. So I don't know. I mean, maybe the dude has something like wrong with him that doctors are not seeing. And then I feel bad for this, but like, it's a very giveaway sign of steroids to my knowledge. Mm-hmm. And to have it again, popping up right before another fight is just timing that I don't love to see.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like it was noteworthy enough that I had a comment on it, but switching back to the fight. In the first fight, yes, Whittaker was emotional and maybe rushed, but it also exposed what may be a problem for Whittaker in this matchup. And that is that Whittaker is a blitzer. He's one of the best blitzers we've ever seen. But against Israel Adesanya, that's not what you want to be. You're almost asking to get hit doing that. Can Whittaker work a different game? Yes, I think he can and should. And I think he's even already shown that in his most recent fights. I think he can be less blitzy. He can't stay outside because he'll get picked apart, but he's good enough to stay in range and try to play a bit of a slip and rip game. And on top of that, I think he's going to look to mix in some wrestling. I really do think that he can do that and that he's a live dog in this fight. I think the odds are too wide. And I badly, badly want to pick him. But as much as I think Whittaker can change and fight differently and make this fight closer, I think to a certain extent you are who you are. And he's so used to being able to make that blitz work on guys. I think it's hard to shake that. And I just don't think – I think that's going to put him in trouble against Izzy. I think it's just a tough stylistic matchup for him. So I think Whittaker brings it. I think he sees the bell. I think he has his moments. But I think Izzy finds 3 clear rounds in there. And I'll say he takes a 48-47 decision. He's too good of a counter striker if Whittaker comes in. He's too good at range if Whittaker tries to be extra patient. And he's shown us that he can get up off the mat as long as the guy on top of him doesn't weigh 205 pounds. So it's not as easy, in my opinion, but I'll say Izzy does it again.
Okay. Omar, let's bring you in here. Give us your take. Give us your pick of this middleweight title fight between Adesanya and Whittaker.
So before I get into that real quick, you had me curious, Mark, about whether Israel or how often Israel has gotten tested. And yeah, I don't know what the deal is with this website, but it says he's been tested a total of 13 times, which I don't know if it's from since he started, because even when I changed the years here, it just has, yeah, weird. But it looks like it's been a total of 13 times since he's been in the UFC, which seems like a really low count for somebody in Izzy's position, especially with the controversy surrounding his pec the first time. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I think they should probably test him a little bit more.
There's guys who have ways of skirting these tests.
I mean, especially if they're not getting tested. If they're, there's guys out there that are getting tested a ton that you can't really say anything about. You know what I mean?
By the way, I pulled up Jan pictures of the fight with Jan, and I don't see it.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, back to the main event here. So, very interesting fight. This is sort of like ninja versus samurai shit to me. Israel is very loosey-goosey, very creative with how he gets in that cage, with his strikes, with how he sets things up. He's a big fan of using feints. He's a big fan of using a lot of his kicks. Robert Whittaker is a lot more of the in-and-out guy. I guess if you want to kind of equate it to a samurai, a lot more of that like sword striking action where he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. Trying to sort of impale on his way in, keeping distance on his way out so he's not getting counter-struck. How well that works against an elite counter-striker like Israel Adesanya, we're going to have to wait and see. If you go back and you watch that first fight, Whittaker got messed up by the end of that first round, and in the second round, it just kind of continued from there. But they were playing, both of them were playing with a game of inches. And had one of them had to step out of place, that punch would have probably landed a lot more for Whittaker than it did for Adesanya. So even in the loss against Adesanya the first time, Whittaker was still very much there in that fight. As much damage as he ended up taking. So all that to say that, if he learns from his first fight, I think we'll definitely see a lot more competitive fight the second time around. But I just think Adesanya has just so many more tools. I think he's just so much more confident in the octagon at this point. I think the way that he styles on people can mess with people sometimes. And I can't see him losing to Whittaker at this point. So I'm gonna go with Adesanya. I am gonna go with decision.
Okay, decision, huh? I'm gonna go with Adesanya by knockout once again. I think stylistically, he has Robert Whittaker's number, and I see him knocking him out maybe third round.
Okay,
That's it, boys. Damn. Anything else? Any other tidbits you guys want to say about this main event or any other fight on this pay-per-view?
I think it should be noted that the other thing that Robert Whittaker has talked about was kind of not being 100%. I think, Mark, you kind of edged it out when it came to his attitude and his kind of approach to the fight. So I'm interested to see what that change is in this fight, because I didn't really see that difference when watching the first fight and watching the build up to it. Like, it just seemed like he was reacting to a guy that he doesn't really like. But there seems to be more, apparently, from both sides that they knew that there was something that was off about Whittaker. So I'm interested to see what this difference is, because I didn't notice it.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say, as much as I am picking Izzy, and we're all picking Izzy, and of course, there's every chance. Like I said, it's not the greatest style matchup for Whittaker, so there's every chance Whittaker does get KO'd here. But I will say, do not be shocked if that belt is getting wrapped around Robert Whittaker's waist.
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. All right, boys. Well, let us end with a little bit of trivia. Before we do that, actually, let's play a little game. All right. Who found this? Was this from a post somebody saw?
I saw somebody playing it on Twitter about celebrities in general, and I thought we should play it about MMA celebrities.
Okay. I'll go first. I'm going to name 4 fighters that I've met and 1 that is a lie. All right? So
5 total, right?
5 total. Yeah. 4 guys that I've actually met and 1 guy that I'm saying that I've met, but it is a lie. Here are my 5. Efrain Escudero. Big Country Roy Nelson. Big Nog. Cowboy Cerrone. And Darren Cruikshank.
So as I said when I saw this list earlier, I am like 99.9% sure I already know your answer.
Okay.
So I will let Omar guess first.
I'm torn between Cerrone and Big Country.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm torn right now.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to land with Cerrone.
Mark.
So I believe that is correct. I know that Effie Escudero is your boy. I know that Darren Cruikshank is your boy. I know you met Big Nog at Taura. Mm-hmm. And I am pretty sure that last week on this show, you mentioned meeting Roy Nelson.
That's right. That's right.
The answer, Cowboy Cerrone.
That's right. I've never met Cowboy Cerrone.
Okay.
I've shook hands with Big Country. I think at the car show at the Javits Center in New York.
Mm.
Oh, yes, I do remember you saying that now. I did not remember when I was making that
pick. I have announced Cruikshank twice and exchanged nice conversation with him. I also met Big Nog at Tora, where he was sort of affiliated with them. Very nice guy. And I also know Escudero through Tora, and I do call him a friend now, which I'm very fortunate. So there you go. I have never met Cowboy Cerrone. I would love to, though. All right, who's going next?
I'll go next. I'll go next. All right. First one on the list, Ronda Rousey, Eddie Alvarez, John Jones, Israel Adesanya, Gary Goodrich.
Wow. Your list is hard.
Star-studded fucking list.
Okay. I'm writing this down. Ronda?
I have a guess.
You said John Jones?
Ronda, Eddie, John Jones, Izzy, Gary Goodrich.
Gary Goodrich is the wrench here.
You have to have met Gary Goodrich, because if you needed to fill in a lie,
yes,
there is no
Goodrich
way
is out.
Gary Goodrich at a thin
Goodrich
air.
is out. Goodrich is out. I'm gonna say I'm pretty sure you've met Ronda. Ronda's out. That leaves Eddie.
I agree.
Eddie, Bones, and Izzy. Wow, this is tough. I think you've met Eddie. I'm gonna say you've met Eddie.
I agree.
Okay, so it's between Mark and I. We're together here. It's between Jones and Izzy.
Already.
You do?
Okay. I'll wait for you to say, but I also think he met one of them.
I think you have met Adesanya. I'm going to say you have not met John Jones.
That's my same guess.
That is correct. That is correct. Ronda, I did a book signing, or she did a book signing for her book, so I met her there. Eddie Alvarez, I met at a fight, and we took a picture together. Izzy, I didn't meet, but I gave him a fist bump after he beat the shit out of Derrick Brunson the first time on his way out of the cage.
Count it. All right, count it.
That is one of the most legendary pictures I have. It is a live picture too.
Oh, that's sick, dude.
Legendary.
I think I remember it.
I use it in all, like for my Slack work. It's in all the pictures for work.
Great.
And Gary Goodrich, I did meet at an event as well. The sad part about the Gary Goodrich part was he has I think a bit of dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that. So he doesn't really want to fuck with people, to be honest. So like I just did a quick, I'm a big fan, and he did like a get the fuck away from me kind of thing. So kind of met him, but like it was still cool to see him.
Dude, how good was Gary Goodrich back in the day? People
don't
know. People don't know. If you don't know right now, you need to do YouTube Gary Goodrich highlights and enjoy.
That was a beast.
All right, Mark, what are yours?
All right. My list is Israel Adesanya, Cowboy Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, Eddie Alvarez, Frankie Edgar.
Ooh. Okay. Crossing them out. I'm pretty sure we've met Pettis. I'm pretty sure. Oh,
Alvarez is definitely out. He's got gloves signed by Alvarez.
Alvarez is out. I'm gonna say I'm already kind of in the dark here. I'm gonna say Frankie's out. It's between Izzy and Cowboy. Between Izzy and Cowboy, I'm gonna say you've met Cowboy. I'm gonna say you have not met Izzy. Just like Omar, you're a liar.
So wait, what was your answer? That I haven't
Izzy.
met?
You have not met Izzy. Izzy's the lie.
Omar, what's your guess?
Well, we're probably both wrong.
I'm gonna go with Cowboy.
You're saying Cowboy is the lie?
Yeah.
You are both wrong.
Oh shit!
Who is it?
Is it Edgar?
The lie is Frankie Edgar.
No
way!
I intentionally put him in because he lives like close.
He lives like 10 minutes from you.
Fuck him up.
Wait, he lives in. Where does he live?
No, he lives in
Jersey. But you know, what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it would have been made sense if I saw Frankie Edgar somewhere.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I met Eddie Alvarez at the same event that you went to, Omar. Is that where you met him signing before the event in Atlantic City?
No, I'm actually he might have been in Atlanta. It might have been the Atlantic City card, but I met him on the floor. Like I had floor seats for that.
Oh, okay, but so same card because I met him at a signing right before that card. Okay. But I actually got to talk to him for a little bit. Super nice guy, and he was signing one glove for everybody. And wow. I made up some story about how my dad was a huge fan of his, so I could get both gloves signed. And he tells me to take out my phone. Sorry, Eddie, if you're watching us by the 0% chance. But it tells me to take out my phone, and I was like, fuck, he's going to call my dad. And then he's like, record us. So instead he recorded a video for my dad. So I have a video of him talking to my dad, even though my dad has no idea who he is. So super nice guy.
Dude, that's amazing.
Alvarez is definitely listening to our podcast. Like, fuck this kid, man.
You need to show us this video and maybe even post it on our Instagram.
I saw Izzy at that same event in the hallway at concessions, and this was like when Izzy was not that big of a deal yet. So he was literally strolling through concessions. I mean, he had like 5 or 6 guys like hovering around him, but I was able to like say what up and talk to him for 1 second. So that was cool.
That's cool.
And then at Jesus, what number event was this when Connor KO'd Eddie? Was that UFC 200?
No.
I want to say, I'm going to guess it was 205.
205?
Yeah, that's what it was. Damn. Good one, Mike.
Yeah,
was it?
Yeah, that was 205. Yeah. As soon as you said it, actually popped in my head. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, that event.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that event.
Did you go to that event?
Yeah, I sure fucking did.
Oh, bitch.
I met Cowboy in the hallway, looking sharp as hell. Talked to him for a minute, and I don't even remember what I was wearing, but he told me that I looked sharp, and I was like, Cowboy, you are the man, not me. And then I met Pettis leaving that event, getting into an elevator. I was waiting for an elevator with my wife, Pettis, and his, I guess, wife. I don't know if she was his wife at the time. And like some crew that was with them, and the elevator door, they were in front of us kind of, and the doors, I was talking to them while we were waiting. He was nice too. But then the doors opened and it was like kind of filled by them. And I was like, damn, do I force my way into the same elevator as Anthony Pettis? But I let it close. And that was it.
You made it super awkward.
That's cool.
So like, how's your next fight? What are you doing for your next fight?
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what we were talking about when we were waiting for the elevator. I don't remember who. He was already booked against someone, but I don't remember who it was. But we were talking about the matchup.
That's dope.
All right, you guys want to do one trivia question or call it good?
Nah, hit us with a trivia.
All right, here we go. One trivia question. This is a who am I trivia question. Multiple choice.
Who's that Pokemon?
Yeah, right. My first UFC fight was at UFC Japan Ultimate Japan 1 against Kevin Jackson. I won that fight by submission.
Wait, against who?
Kevin Jackson.
Okay. Wow.
Some of my other notable wins included Jeremy Horn and Tito Ortiz. Who am I? Am I A, Royce Gracie, B, Frank Shamrock, C, Carlson Gracie, or D, Ken Shamrock?
Fuck, I thought it was someone else. And then he wasn't in the list. Okay, wait. Can you tell me the details that you said one more time?
I shall. My first UFC fight was at UFC Japan Ultimate Japan 1 against Kevin Jackson. I won that by submission. Other notable wins included Jeremy Horn and Tito Ortiz. Am I A? Let me go back up here. Am I A, Royce Gracie, B, Frank Shamrock, C, Carlson Gracie, or D, Ken Shamrock?
It can't be It can't be Ken Shamrock or Royce Gracie because they were in UFC 1. Or UFC 1 and 2.
I feel like it can't be any of these friggin' people.
And it can't be... Is fucking Frank Shamrock even in the same division as him?
Isn't Frank the only one of these dudes who beat Tito Ortiz?
Is it Frank Shamrock?
I feel like it has to be Frank, but Frank was on... Oh, you didn't say UFC 1.
No, he said...
Oh.
Yeah.
Frank. UFC Japan, Ultimate Japan 1.
Frank.
The answer is Frank Shamrock.
Yeah. That's what fucked me up. My head was thinking UFC 1 for some reason. I'm like, he was on UFC 1, but you said
Japan. That was how I knew. That's how I knew it wasn't Ken Shamrock or Royce Gracie because they were in there long before that event.
Yeah. And but it was really the key was just none of those dudes beat Tito Ortiz.
Tito Ortiz. That's what I was thinking of too.
Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't know Frank Shamrock beat Tito Ortiz.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they were in the same division. I thought Frank was smaller.
Nah, man, Frank was a beast. But that was fuck, now I'm thinking. Yeah, that was when Tito was a middleweight. I'm 99% sure.
I mean, that would make sense.
Which
that would make sense.
Was initially. Yeah. I'm almost positive of that.
Cool.
Now you guys Googling shit, Mike. No, light heavyweight.
It was?
Frank was jacked.
Oh, and that was only like his sixth fight in his sixth professional fight at that point too, for the light heavyweight championship.
No, but was that? Does it say the weight though? Because the titles used to have different names at a certain point in time.
Oh, no, it does not. Hold please.
Here we go. Nope, that's not the fucking one that I want to click on.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, so it was under 200 pounds at the time.
Oh, so not really light heavyweight. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what they actually weighed, but that's what that belt was at the time, under 200 pounds.
It's the
so
Wild
it's possible
West.
that Tito weighed more than Frank at the time of the fight. But anyway, yeah. Got another one, Mike.
Good question, though. Good question.
Dude, it's hard to come up with
question.
good trivia questions to stump purists such as you two gentlemen. But boys, let us bring this one to a close and thank our audience one last time. Guys, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, all the things. Leave us a comment with your questions or DM us with your question. We would love to really start a segment where we answer a fan question every episode. That would be so cool. So hit us up with a DM or a comment and ask us anything about MMA, UFC, you name it. We'll talk about it and we'll shout you out on the show. That being said, gentlemen, any parting shots?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I loved doing that fan question last week. So yeah, really anything, social media, YouTube comments, wherever you want to put it. No question's a bad question. We want to hear what you guys think. We want to hear what you guys want answers to. So yeah, send it our way.
Cool. Omar?
Yeah, same. I loved actually answering all those questions about Brock Lesnar and kind of getting some involvement. So more of that, please.
All right, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next week.
Oh, yeah.
Peace.
Peace.